Now, our brain constitutes 2% of our body weight, but it uses 20% of our energy and 20% of our blood supply, and it generates 20% of our heat. So our brain utilises a disproportionate amount of our resources, which is why it needs our attention. So welcome to Boost Your Brain and Get Ahead. Now, just to kick things off this morning, I'd like you to turn to the person sitting next to you and give them your best smile. Lovely. Now that you've established immediate rapport, I'd like you to give each other a genuine, heartfelt compliment. And if you're sitting there thinking, but the person next to me doesn't know me, don't worry. Something positive and pleasant about you will have struck them immediately. We've got 10 seconds each. Go.
Oh, we've done it.
Lovely. I heard that. Now, why did I ask you to do that? What was that all about? Well, the first point about the brain is that the brain loves suspense. Every time your brain's put in a state of suspense, it's like giving your brain cells a shake and saying, wake up, something exciting's about to happen. So I'm not going to tell you why we did that until the very end. I'm going to keep you in suspense. For now, I've got some really exciting news. And that is that in the last 5 to 10 years, science has uncovered more about how the human brain works than in the whole of brain research before that. Which means our knowledge of the brain has absolutely exploded, and this knowledge is life-changing. And the pivotal thing that neuroscientists have uncovered is that the brain, your brain, my brain, our brain, that 1.4 kilogram wrinkled lump of grey matter, can actually change its very own structure with each different activity it performs. Now just think about that for a moment. Our brain can change itself. And by that I mean it can grow new cells, it can make new connections, it can establish new circuits. And it doesn't just do that randomly. It does that in response to all the different things we do. It does it in response to what we think or not think even. And it does it in response to how we behave. And this is just more good news because all those things we can do something about. What we do, what we think and how we behave are all within our control. And we call this remarkable ability of the brain to change itself neuroplasticity. Hands up, how many of you have come across that term before? Okay. Well, I'll explain it so everyone's clear about it. Neuroplasticity comes from two words, neuron, meaning brain cell, and plastic, meaning malleable or able to be moulded. And what neuroplasticity means is that every single one of us can influence how our own brain operates and develops throughout our entire life. Now, why does this matter? Well, because our brain runs the show. Yes, I know, every so often you meet someone where you really doubt that. But even in his case, his brain is in charge. It's just that it's charging rather recklessly. And Robin Williams, as in Hollywood, made a very profound observation about this. He said, God gave men a brain and a penis, but only enough blood to run one at a time. Anyway, if we can boost our brain, and neuroplasticity shows us that we can boost every aspect of our life. We can think better, work better, create better, relate better, perform better, and achieve far more than we ever thought possible. Not just as an individual, which is powerful enough in itself, but as a group, as a team, as a community, as a species. And right now, we really need to be thinking, creating and relating better. Because human beings are going through some major crises. We've got a health crisis, an economic crisis, an environmental crisis. And sure, in Australia, we've overcome and eliminated some pretty major diseases. We've got no smallpox, no polio, no plague. But human beings right now are actually dealing with some even bigger plagues. Exhaustion, stress, sleep deprivation, anxiety, depression, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and just overwhelm. Like, these are the plagues of the 21st century, and they aren't a black and white matter. They're all about grey matter. So the solution is to boost our brain. And it's almost serendipitous that neuroscientists have uncovered neuroplasticity now. And the basic premise is that our brain operates like a muscle. The more actively we engage it, the bigger, the more complex, and the more effective it can become. Now, I have some really fascinating news. The brains of wild animals are 15 to 30% larger than the brains of their tame domestic counterparts. Now, you have to ask yourself why. What is it about being wild that boosts their brain? And does it apply to humans? If we all got wild, would it boost our brain? Now, before I answer that question, I better just give you a little bit more of my background. As Tina said, I'm a medical doctor and I've been doing research on boosting the brain for over a decade. Now, originally when I first graduated in medicine, I was dead set on being a psychiatrist. But 3 months into my psychiatry career, I realised I'd end up being a patient myself if I stayed with it. So I switched to sexual health. A logical choice since I knew nothing about sex and I figured I could learn a few things, which I did, but I'll save that for another presentation. I then cut out a niche, so to speak, doing vasectomies, the nearest thing to psychiatry. But what really made me passionate about boosting the brain was when I started a specialty in lifestyle-based diseases and found that they were 80% of cases presenting to GPs due to lifestyle. And it was there that I saw that education is much more powerful than medication. I saw how boosting the brain can make such a huge positive difference to people's lives. And I saw how people can take their health, their performance and their learning to a whole new level if they learn how to boost their brain. So that's what I'm going to answer today. What can we do to boost our brain so that we perform at our peak on a daily basis, so that we tap into brain potential we never knew we had, and so that we stay as sharp at 90 years as we were at 30. And this is all wildly exciting because for so long we've lived under the delusion that the brain we're born with, we're stuck with, and that mental decline with ageing is inevitable. But it's not. Both these myths are just a self-fulfilling prophecy. Take architect Frank Lloyd Wright. He designed the Guggenheim Museum in New York at the age of 90. Benjamin Franklin invented bifocal glasses at age 78. Queenslander Betty Bursky wrote 2 award-winning books, Homeland and At the Island, at the ages of 79 and 82 respectively, and she's now giving talks about her books and about writing. Age is no limit. And Julia Britton, at age 94, is still a highly successful Australian playwright and had 3 plays in production in January this year. Hands up, how many of you had 3 plays in production? There you go. That's something you have to look forward to because that level of mental functioning is possible for every single person in this room. And remember, boosting your brain isn't just about improving brain function as we age, it's about improving brain function right now at any age. So the question is, how?